Hey everyone, welcome back to the Family's Flyfree podcast. Today I have brought with me one of the members of the Family's Flyfree team, Chris Pisciotta. And I invited Chris on the podcast because I wanted him to share his story of achieving financial independence and how travel rewards and traveling, played into that journey for him. And I know that we have a lot of listeners who are on the FI, however you say it, financial independence journey. And so I thought you might enjoy hearing someone else's story. So welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Nice to be here and nice to share my story.
Yeah, you can inspire others, including me. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do on the Family's Flyfree team, where you live, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. So I was born and raised in Phoenix and pretty much lived in Phoenix for most of my life. And that's where I reside now. I've only lived here, LA, and San Diego. So you can tell I've avoided anything cold, anything snow related, which is, definitely a big part of your life up there in Indiana.
Yes. And all those places sound lovely to me.
Yes. Yeah. Except for the summers here in Phoenix. But anyways. So I'm an industrial engineer, went to Arizona State University. So go Sun Devils, even though their sports lately have not.
And how far did they get in the tournament?
They got one round and then they got booted. So yeah. But for them, that's pretty far. Their sports have been down in recent years. So we'll take it baby step by baby step. So,
yes.
And then for Family's Flyfree, actually, I'm coming on. I forgot the exact date, but I'm coming on my 1-year anniversary, if you believe it or not. In early April, when I joined the team of travel hackers that you guys are. So my job is virtual assistant, and so basically it's updating the website, sending out member alerts, helping out on the webinars, and just kind of the jack of all trades to help you out and Cami, which obviously will in turn help out all our great members.
Yes, Chris does a lot of behind the scenes things that you don't see, but that help everything run smoothly and efficiently as we want it to. So, all right, so let's start. I just wanted to have you kind of define for us financial freedom or financial independence, kind of what that means to you.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, it's basically having enough money to cover your expenses to where it affords you the flexibility to do what you want. And I've really achieved it about a couple of years ago when I turned 50. And the flexibility is, just a great example that's, near and dear to me and my wife's heart is, when we reached that level to where I didn't need to work as an engineer for American Express, where I've been working at for the last 22 years, is her dad's health took a turn from the worst, and about 3 or 4 years ago, and so he moved in with us. And then when we reached that financial independence, my wife Lori could take care of him, and go to all his appointments that he had to, which unfortunately were like almost seemed like 2 or 3 a day, and just spend quality time. Just knowing his end was unfortunately near. And it's just stuff like that priceless moments that you spend with family. And especially when we get to our age in the 40s and 50s, we all have to deal with that with aging parents. So that was probably the first and foremost thing. And I know my wife Lori is real appreciative of all of the all the saving and the work we did in her 20s, 30s, and 40s to afford a situation like that where she could spend quality time with her dad.
So did that mean that she didn't have to work, or she could work a more flexible job, or?
Yeah, correct. So it's kind of like in my situation. Basically, we ratcheted down our job. She was a first grade teacher and kindergarten teacher, which everyone knows is very really taxing job, and especially at the start of COVID, it was. And that's part of the reason why she ratcheted down to just do an online tutor part-time, and 10, 20 hours a week. And then same with me when I quit my American Express job. I knew I wanted to do a part-time job, but I want to do something in which I truly love. I mean, I love the engineering, I love the credit card industry, but I just, at times it can get too much, working 60, 70-hour weeks. And at the time I managed a global team. So I was working weird hours, in the evenings, working with Australia, early mornings, working with Europe. And it just, after many, many years of that, it really was taxing me. So for me, I had thoughts of maybe I'd work on a golf course. I love golf. And then, but also your job came up, and I love travel hacking. Been doing it for almost 20 years. But that's what I talked about just having that flexibility to do what you really want to do, and then you can just kind of ratchet down a little bit. I knew I was not going to be the sitting in the rocking chair, the stereotypical thought of retirement. Yeah, I wanted to continue to work, but something I just really have passion for.
So, and I'm a big proponent of do what you love. I think that's great advice too. Like even when I got my first jobs, like I always thought about, okay, what do I enjoy doing and what job can I get? So first I was a dancer, so I taught dance. And then I was like, I like to watch movies. So then I worked at a movie theater one summer, and I love to read. So I spent many, many years working at bookstores, like at Borders. So I think that's just good advice too. And I always tell my kids that, as they're starting to look for jobs, like find something you're interested in. Yeah. Like I think my husband worked at a golf course at some point,
Oh, okay. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. And just that makes the work so much more fun.
Definitely.
But okay, so let's go back to your definition of financial independence. So you said having enough money to
Correct.
cover your expenses. But now, does that mean without, like, is that passive income?
Yeah, I mean, where we're at now, we're getting some passive income from rentals that we started to build in our 40s. So about 10, 12 years ago, we started to diversify, into real estate to get passive income. It wasn't totally enough to cover our expenses, but it covered about half. And then the other half, I started to take from some of my our retirement accounts, like a Roth IRA. All the money that you put in, you can always take out without any penalty, being too young or any taxes or anything, because it's already been taxed. The Roth IRA has already been taxed, so you can always take out the contributions, which we've been contributing since the 20s, since my 20s, not 1920s, since my 20s. And that's one advice I will just kind of pipe in now is start early. So for all you parents out there and grandparents, tell the kids to start early, even if it's just a couple percent of their salary. Start early. That's the key. And that was advice that I got from a professor actually at Arizona State University, and this is before really Roth IRAs were popular and kind of got a lot of momentum. But he talked about that and just about the advantages of it. And so that really got me. It's like, oh wow, I really want to think about my future. So yeah, if I could say one thing, just start early on squirreling away money, even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, my dad 100% told me that at age, whatever, 18 or 20. Did I listen? No.
Yep, I know. Yep. And for some reason, just that professor, who was like my favorite professor of all time, Professor Smith, and it just stuck with me. It really did. And just me being the engineering and analysis type of mind, I understood about just the time value of money. You start scrolling away and you earn a percentage, just how much that can grow. And nowadays you see it in a lot of financial articles about, hey, if you put away $1,000 a month in 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to be worth, close to $1 million.
Like $1 million. Yes, that was the number he told me.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen so many different charts, but it's really neat. And you just do a search on that, and you can, if you put even 500 a month away, I mean, it's just amazing just how it compounds on itself.
But I would add, like, if you didn't, because I have gotten hung up there before, like, well, I didn't do that, so it's just too late now. Like, it isn't too late, I would say.
Correct. It is never
and
too late.
You do have options, like I have my own business, right? And is actually an investment and a way to help people while growing money at the same time. So even if compounding isn't on your side because you didn't listen when you were 20, I still think you have, like, don't give up, right? You have options
correct.
for sure. But yeah, so tell us more about the steps that you took to kind of achieve this goal that you set.
Yeah. So, I mean, just at a high basic level, it's living, beneath the means, the monies that come in for you, live beneath it, whatever it is. And you don't have to be, have the, a high end job that's paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. It can be any sort of salary that you have, just whatever that is, whatever you're bringing in, make sure that you live beneath your means. And hopefully that gap is somewhere between 15 to 30%. I mean, and again, even if you start out really small, that's fine, but just as you get older, if you could just work on expanding that gap between what you earn and then what you spend, because that money, that difference, is what you want to put away into real estate or stocks, and there's a bunch of other vehicles, but something that will earn in return over 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And so, that's what we did. I mean, right when I got my first job out of school from Arizona State, and at the time, my wife were dating, and she became a teacher, and she, squirreled away money in her Roth IRA. I did it in my Roth IRA. And again, it wasn't that much. I think we were probably doing maybe 10% of our salary, just trying to understand what costs are being an official adult now, post college. And then, but over time, just understanding the time value of money, and the more we put in now, especially early on, then the more that you're going to have, when you reach your goal, if you want to retire in your 50s or 60s. And but over time, we always took our raise. So if we got a raise of 3-4%, we always took that and increased our our money that we were putting to the side. So that was one thing that professor talked about is, don't blow your raise. Put that away. You've already used to the money that you're accustomed to. So when you get a raise, put that away. And obviously some years inflation will get you. And so we cheated a few years where maybe we got a 4 or 5% raise or a promo. And some of it I did take to spend, but most of it I would put away as a side account, a retirement account. So we just continued to do that, just all through our 20s and 30s. And then in our 40s, then we were so heavy into stocks. And this is one thing that we did early on, was we were really aggressive, since we had a long-term window of 20, 30, 40 years before we needed to touch that money. I could afford to put basically 90% of it into stocks, and I had a mix of US and international, and small company and large company, and but just continued to put that money away. And one of the other things that we did, that again, go back to that professor, actually it's kind of a Warren Buffett idea too, is when people are scared, you want to invest money. When things are going really good, when people are like, hey, things are great, you get a little concerned about that, right? So during the times when the stocks were not doing well, kind of like now in the past year, or during the Great Recession in 07, 08, 09, we put away more money as stocks were going down, because they were basically on sale, knowing that in our long-term horizon they would come back, and because I was putting more money when stocks were on sale, I got more shares. And then we did that also during the tech bubble in the early 2000s. And so that was one thing that we really did, and we had to sacrifice. And one of the major sacrifices for us was new cars. We only one time we bought a brand new car, and that was a 2000 Mustang, where we splurged a little bit, but because I've always been a Ford Mustang guy. And so
that was my first car.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah. So it was a great car, and but that was the only time we splurged. But other than that, we always got used cars, and we always drove them till the wheels fell off. 150,000 miles. We had cars at almost 200,000 miles. And every time we had to do a repair, I always think, well, it's better than having a $500 payment consistently for for a while. So even though we had to spend maybe $1,000 to repair, let's say the AC compressor, it made more sense to continue to limp this car along. And yeah, I didn't have the shiny new car or anything, but it's just, to me, I'd rather focus on my future and have that flexibility, later in my life than have a new car that, after about a year or so, it'd be like no big deal. That newness will wear off after a year or so. So it's definitely not easy, and you have to, that's another thing I would definitely recommend, with your spouse, is just make sure you both are on the same page. Because there were times where, I wanted to splurge on certain things, and wife kind of slapped my hand, no, and vice versa. There's some things that she wanted to splurge on. I said, no. so we kept each other, in check when at times we wanted to, maybe get new furniture or maybe the high-end new appliances, or if something broke down. So, but that's basically it. It's just, again, just the age-old advice on just living beneath your means, and then just save and put into, some vehicle like stocks or real estate, which will earn a good return over a long horizon.
Yeah. And so, I think the whole living below your means thing is very hard for many people to do. So
it is. Yeah.
What thoughts drove you to be able to make that sacrifice to keep that going for 20 plus years, right?
Yeah. Because, we started, like 23, 24 as we, started, with a little bit of money to the side, and then just every year we kept increasing it. So it was basically, about 26, 27 years that we, set money aside. I mean, the main thing you got to do, and everyone, cringes when you talk about this, is create a budget. You just have to understand where your money's going. And I didn't get too maniacal about it, like every penny. I just, we just kind of rounded off into dollars and didn't worry about getting to the nth degree. And one thing that made it easy is just, right from the get-go, when I, got my first job, I had a credit card, and I just put everything on my credit card, as much as I could. Back then there wasn't really the everyday spend that you see now, but as time went on, a lot more everyday spend, like, at grocery stores or restaurants, whatever, like fast food restaurants and golf courses and all, they started to accept credit cards. So that made it easy to budget, because I just put everything, because at that time I was starting to hack, do the travel hacking. I just put everything on my credit card. So that just made it easy to understand where our money was going. And so, but I think that's the key, is to have that budget and understand, where it's going. And again, we weren't overly crazy about it. We didn't watch every penny every month, but just every, maybe 4 or 5 months, we would, get together and look at our budgets and see where money's going. Did we go to more movies or anything? Okay, if that's the case, where can we make it up? And so we would always try and keep our budget, within a certain amount.
And you didn't live, like, I feel like sometimes you hear 5 people, it's like they're literally live with nothing, like eating bananas, which I just don't think I could do that. But so did you find a middle ground there where you?
Yeah, definitely. And that was one thing I would bring up, because you hear, some people that, and one of my heroes, or I think he takes it too far, is Mr. Money Mustache, and he's kind of one of the premier, retire early. I think he's Canadian, retired in his 30s, and he talks about, I think he's got a family of 5, maybe like 2 or 3 kids, and they were, living on 20,000 a year, and just,
oh my goodness,
and just something crazy. And I probably have my numbers all mixed up, but it's just, they really took it to the extreme. Hey, and more power to them for the people that do that. But it's just, I like you said, I like that middle ground where, hey, I'm enjoying life. I'm doing some great things. I'm not sacrificing too much, but yet I'm saving for the future. So, for each, couple or family, that's, your own decision how far you want to take it. But, you do have to make some sacrifices. and for me and my wife, we're not big foodies, so we don't spend a lot of money on high-end restaurants. And again, I told you about the cars. We always bought used cars. And but one of the things that we did like to splurge on were vacations, and that's where the travel hacking, which I think you're familiar with.
A little bit, yeah. So
A little bit, just a little bit.
Let's transition into how you were able to continue to travel while doing this.
Yeah, and that's just, it was funny because when we first got married, I saw my parents. They traveled a little bit, and they were both teachers, so obviously they didn't have a huge amount of money set aside. But like what we did, they saved a lot. And one great thing about teachers is they usually have great retirement programs. So my parents, they traveled a lot after retired, and in the early 60s, and they traveled a lot. And so when my wife and I were talking, I said, yeah, we'll travel a little bit, but let's travel a lot when we retire, like my parents. And my wife's like, no, we're traveling now. We're doing this while we're young and we're able, and we do all these activities. And so she's the one that really got me going on the travel. And then once we did start to travel, then I got the bug, and I just I've never stopped traveling since. But I really didn't get into the travel hacking until my late 20s, when I started work for American Express. And I was on a lot of projects working with the marketing folks. And I was on the project management engineering side to basically roll out these new programs and roll out new credit cards. And it just really had a light bulb moment when they talk about all the different incentives that they can do for new card members. You get this many. In American Express, they use membership rewards, so that's their currency. And they talk about all the different programs, and I'm like, oh wow, these credit cards they got some real good incentives. And this is even before where credit cards really started to compete, but it was still pretty attractive to get these new credit cards. And so that was a light bulb moment for me to say, wow, if I can kind of accumulate all these points, we can travel all over the world, pretty much free or really close to it. And so that got me going on that. And so I played the game, and it becomes a game. It becomes a fun, challenging game. Just on how much can I game the system. And of course, it was kind of a weird situation. I'm gaming my own company that I work for.
You're on the inside track.
Yeah, on the inside track. Yeah. So, but I also did all the others. Like the first couple cards were American Express cards, and then also Barclays, because we wanted to go to Hawaii. So they had a good deal with Hawaiian Airlines there. So those are the first couple cards that we did. And once you get that high of, oh man, we're flying for free, basically, you just want to do more and more and more. And
were you able to do that just with the spending that your budgeted spending?
Yeah, exactly. We hardly, and then the other part of the budget, we did a lot of local trips. Being in Phoenix, we could drive to a lot of great places. Right, we can go to Vegas, go to San Fran, go to LA, and then we could drop down to Mexico. It's only a 4-hour drive, and it's right there on the Sea of Cortez, so that we could do that really cheaply. And then you had family live in Colorado, and Colorado's beautiful. So we just had a lot of places that we could go to with the drive. So that was a lot of our vacations mixed in with basically once a year would either go to Hawaii or go to Europe. And that was our big trip. So, and that was our big focus, was going to Hawaii or Europe. And then,
and like how amazing, like you got to go to Hawaii or Europe every year while working on achieving financial freedom. Like that is those are two awesome trips, like bucket list trips for a lot of our members, right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And it's just amazing because friends are like, how can you do this and all that, and I would tell friends and say, hey, this is what you got to do. And I think we've talked about this in our staff meetings, where some people just, even if you tell them, you give them the roadmap, they just don't follow through on it. And I got family members that it's frustrating, where I'm like, oh my God, you're missing this gold mine. And you got to put in some effort, but that's life. You got to put in some effort to get anything out of it. But I'm telling you this roadmap, and I can help you. And if you're stuck, and so, but yeah, and some friends would do it, but most of them, they just, oh great, it sounds great. Yeah, I'll get on it, and I'll check in with them, and they won't. But that's, and over time, I basically went to all the major banks and got cards. So I'm one of those that you talk about where I
Please
had
don't tell me you have
probably,
40.
yeah, no, not 40. I know there's
Okay.
some people that do, but I definitely at times I've had in the 20s where you have 20 to 25 cards, and that took some organization, but I'm an engineer, so I got spreadsheets. So
Yeah.
it's
And
all
that is
good.
just like it is some people's forte. Like, and I do if that's what if you're good at that and you
Yeah,
like doing it, and some people do, I just don't.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's just different approaches there, I think.
yeah,
Have you
yeah,
pared
exactly.
down now?
Yeah, I'm well. Well, hold on. It's got to be yes, no. So I did for a while, but then we moved into a new house about 3 years ago, and our backyard was just dirt. So we put a pool in, and really wanted to build a backyard that we love. We had got a putting green and a fire pit and all that. So about 3 years ago, I ratcheted back up again because I think I pared down to like 8 or 9, but there were so many incentives out there in like in 2020. And so I got 3 new cards. My wife Lori got 3 new cards, and we spread out the backyard payments and the pool payments amongst these 6 different
Mm.
credit cards. And mainly a lot of focus was on hotels. And but we did have like Alaskan Airlines. I think, yeah, there were B of A. Oh, and the other one that was big was another B of A for Amtrak, which we used last year to go to New Orleans, and then New Orleans to Chicago on a sleeper car from Phoenix. So that was new to do something like that on a credit card.
Yeah.
So I think I'm back up in the high teens, maybe 16, 17, but with the annual fees and coming up on a couple of them that I've had recently, I'll probably cancel those. So get it
Let's
down to under 10.
so let's talk about just credit cards for a minute, because most people who are in this financial sphere, I think, are trying to budget and all that, they've been taught credit cards are bad. Did you ever have that thought? Did you have to get over that, or you never considered that?
I mean, I never did. Again, it goes back to the budget thing. You want to make sure that you understand, what you're spending money on. Because again, the old adage of like, oh man, I had no idea I spent that much on that credit card. So that
Yes.
never really happened with me. I don't know if you still do this, but I remember listening to your Choose FI podcast about you use your credit card like a debit card that you'll pay. If you
Right.
do it, you go to a furniture store and buy a couple lamps for say $200. Then a couple days later, you'll make a $200 payment on your credit card and make it act like a debit card. So I don't know if you
Right.
still do that, but
Yes, that's my
you do.
approach to it,
That's your
because
approach.
I don't want to
Okay.
be surprised at the end with how
Yeah.
much is on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of going too far, like to me, that's like going too far, but it's
Uh-huh.
good advice,
I think
especially if you,
it's you have to know your spending type or whatever.
yeah,
Because yeah, when you said like you just put everything on your card and then that's how you tracked it, I would be like, yikes! I'd be like, oh no, I didn't know I spent this
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what I would do is, I wouldn't make the payments, but I would put it on a spreadsheet, even and again, I would approximate. I wouldn't get receipts, let's say I went to McDonald's and I wouldn't put the receipt, that
Yeah.
I went and got a, cheeseburger meal or something for, I just knew that, okay, I went, it's like $5 and I just did a quick entry. I didn't, match up the receipts. And again, I didn't go too far with it. And then, some days I would kind of forget. I'm like, oh, wait, okay, yeah, I went to the hardware store, Home Depot. Yeah, I think it was around $50. So I would just kind of keep a rough running tally in those early days.
And you would do that every day.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm not good at doing that. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes I would skip a couple of days, but I would just remember that, hey, I
yeah.
went to the grocery store, spent around $60. So yeah, again, just that, and I was usually pretty close. I mean, every once in a while, maybe I'll be off by $400 or $500, but nothing major. I mean, what you don't want to do is just charge, be oblivious to it, and then wait till the bill comes. Like, oh man, I had no idea I spent $2,000. That's where I think people get in trouble. So just from the get-go, I was just aware of the pitfalls of credit cards, and it was just a goal that Laura and we would never ever give interest to the credit card company. It's just something that We just felt, hey, let's take all the benefits from all the bonus miles they're going to give us and all the bonus points, but not give them, even $10, $20 of interest. It was just the principle of it.
Yes, that's a perfect summation. Let's take all the benefits of the cards
Yeah.
and not reap any of the negatives, not give them any interest.
Yep.
If you can, that's it. If you can just approach it like that, that is the key. It's just in our world, it's just like credit cards equal bad.
Yeah.
It's just, but that's not a given, people. Rethink that.
Yeah, exactly. And again, have a plan, have your spouse or family member, kind of keep check, hey, have you updated the spreadsheet on, or whatever your plan is, or have, like in your case, have you paid off, when you went to the furniture store, spent $200 on lamps, did you pay that off? So it helps to have someone to kind of keep tabs on you, in case you just get busy with family life or work life. But like I said, the credit card thing is it can be dangerous, but I mean, if you can really have a good plan and stick with it and be consistent, boy, it's really just those benefits are awesome.
Yeah, it can be absolutely amazing. So fund all of your free travel. So
yeah.
So tell us, what you've been able to do as a result of, achieving your definition of financial freedom.
Yeah, I mean, for me, definitely less stress. Just job wise. Again, I was coming off a job where, and basically me and my team, we did projects. So when projects got implemented, I mean, it was very highly stressful. You had many executives, asking lots of questions and how are things going, and the pressure of getting, of getting the results that you've talked about, and working just crazy hours. So I mean, for me, it's just the stress level just completely went away. Not having sleepless nights, and just work, ratcheting down a job.
Not thinking about families fly free at night.
Yeah. No, I know. You think I should, but but no. I mean, there's a little bit of stress, which is good. I mean, I'm glad. Again, it's good. I've learned a lot. So that's been definitely a fun part. I never knew anything about web publishing and the marketing. So that's been fun, and I love learning. And but again, I don't have this stress and just walking around like a zombie, like I was, for especially in the later years, as just more and more pressure was put, just in corporate, America. So it just
so like yesterday, you were getting ready to go play golf after our team meeting, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Had a staff meeting.
Flexibility
Yeah. So I mean, so that's great. And there's more time, more time to travel and just do day trips, and more time to spend with family and friends, and I think that's key. And just do, I'm learning a lot more. Like for me, I really enjoy personal finance and just understanding, how can I be better and more efficient at the money that I'm saving. So I really enjoy this finance and understanding the world and economies and all that. So that affords me a lot more time to really dive in to maybe some articles and TV shows that I probably wouldn't have time. And it's just nice to have. And I don't know, I feel I'm more positive and just more of a calm person and not stressed as much. So I think, just all the sacrifices that my wife and I made in our 20s and 30s. And again, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't like, we were, living in a van down by the river, but we had to make some sacrifices, but it's well worth it, especially as you get older. And then, one of the other things, I've taken on a new sport, pickleball. So
my gosh, pickleball.
I know pickleball. I know. So I've joined a pickleball league, and, a year and a half ago, I had no idea what the rules were, and no idea, like, what are these people playing? It looks like a mini version of tennis. So now I'm in a competitive league and a city league. And
it was my dad got into that for a while, so he had us try it. It was hard.
No, yeah, no, and there's certain rules and there's strategies, and it's amazing. And just I know people kind of think of it, it's retirement, old people, type of play, but that's in the last year I've seen a lot of younger people and even teenagers and 20 somethings playing, and it's really cool to see some some woman or a guy in his 70s, kicking my butt. So yeah, like I said, I'm in
Good
the league.
exercise for sure.
Yeah. No, it's great. I've seen guys, like with a cane, and they'll play in the court. I'm like, oh, that's
Wow.
awesome. Yeah, and obviously they can't move as well, but they're still doing pretty good. And so no, anyway, so it's just, again, it just gives you that flexibility to really hone in on what you love. And I'm a competitive guy. I grew up in a sports family, so I'm really enjoying learning a new sport and just getting to know people and on the social aspect of pickleball too.
And what about as a tangible example, you and your wife's recent purchase?
Yes, yeah. So one of the, and this is another kind of lesson on, I talk about communication. Another thing is be flexible. So for many, many years, my wife and I, we always wanted to buy a beach condo. I mean, truly on the beach condo. And we were saving a lot of money, and we even worked with a real estate agent in Hawaii, because we've been to Hawaii now, I think we're up to like 15, 16 times. So
we're going to talk about Hawaii in a minute. So
yeah. Okay. All right. So we talked to a real estate agent, and this is probably 2017, 18, in that time frame. And we were tracking the prices. I had a big spreadsheet, typical geeky engineer. I had a spreadsheet because I would get all her newsletters with the latest sales of the condos, and we were really specifically looking at Kihei in Maui, in South Maui. And we just love that vibe of that community there. And so we were getting close on making it happen and figuring out how we could sell our other rental homes at that time. And then COVID hit, and then real estate just went through the market, and basically we were priced out of Hawaii. It just got crazy. All we could afford was something maybe a mile away from the beach, whereas before that increase of the home values, we were really close of affording what we wanted. Like a 1-bedroom, 500-600 square feet, but with a great beach view. So we were priced out, and we're disappointed. We're like, oh my God, we can't believe it. And we're weighing, well, maybe we'll get that condo that's a mile away from the beach. Not exactly what we wanted, but hey, it's still Hawaii, it's still Kihei. But then we had some friends that bought some place. It's called Rocky Point, Mexico, and it's a place that we were familiar with. It's a big spring break hangout for the Arizona universities, and also a lot of retired people will buy houses down there. It's a 4-hour drive from Phoenix, and again, right on the Sea of Cortez, so right there on the beach. And so we looked into that, and that was the furthest thing from our mind. Again, we were so just focused on Hawaii, and we looked into it, and the prices were relatively reasonable, and there were a lot of places that truly had a great beachfront property, and kind of had a resort feel to it. And so last June we bought a place that was a fix me up, but so we even got even a better deal. And we spent a couple months fixing it up and some money, and so that we achieved our dream. But it just kind of shows you sometimes you got to pivot and just be flexible when things come up that you're just not expecting. But yeah, so that's basically our pride and joy, and we're going down there next week with our aunt who's in town, and so we're just excited to have this place, and we're renting it out, so it's making us some income. And we just got through the spring break time period where it was rented out pretty much all of March, and then the first couple of weeks of April. So like I said, we'll go down next week after the spring break craze is over. But we just love it. It's 2-bedroom, and that's another thing. We got a bigger place and a little bit more like resort amenities. They got a swim-up bar, and they got a workout center, a real nice workout center. So it just ended up being perfect for us. And obviously a 4-hour drive is a lot easier to get to than flying to Hawaii. Right. So it just ended up real good. Obviously, there's some challenges in a different country and some things we got some hoops we had to jump through, but overall it just ended up being the best place to go.
And you can still go to Hawaii as much as you want with travel rewards, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know that's one thing we talked about. Now we're kind of getting the best of both worlds. We can have a quick drive and down to Mexico and enjoy the beach, and then our plan is to go to Hawaii once a year, and that's what's great about Southwest Airlines, and that's in the last couple of years has put Southwest on my radar. was that they now are going to Hawaii, because before, I mean, we'd use them to fly domestically, but didn't really use them a lot because again our focus was Hawaii and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the news came out, I think it was like 3-4 years ago, that they were planning to go to Hawaii, I was like, yes, finally competition, because there was very little competition, especially out of Phoenix, and so prices were just sky high. So we would continue to use the credit rewards, but even then, sometimes those award tickets were pretty expensive, but we just would, and that's how I got up to like 20-25 cards, because I kept on,
you needed more and more points.
Yeah, exactly. So it was good. But anyways, yeah, no, just buying the condo, we achieved our dream of getting that beachfront condo. Just love it.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about Hawaii before we wrap up, because Chris has been, what you said, 15 or 16 times.
Yeah, I think we just got done with 16, because we took.
Have you ever met anyone who's been more?
Oh,
I don't think I've ever heard of anyone going that many times.
I don't think so. I haven't met anyone.
Hawaii should award you a prize.
Yeah, exactly. I should get one free trip or something.
Right. But because we know a lot of our members, Hawaii is definitely what a lot of people come in wanting to go to Hawaii, make that happen for them. So just tell us, I guess your favorite place then is Maui, if that's where you were going to buy the condo, or not?
Actually, I mean, if I had to choose one to visit, it would be Kauai. I mean, even though, I mean, Maui just probably has the best of everything, where it can be sleepy. You can be a beach bum, which is my preference. But also you have some activity. So that's why Maui. And also it was probably the best investment, because that's the most popular island. So that's why we chose that place. But if I had to choose one, it would be Kauai. Again, I'm a beach bum at heart. I could just spend the days just going to the beach, hanging out, working on the tan, and read a book or read articles, about personal finance, as I mentioned before. So and it's just the most beautiful island, no matter which part, that it's just so green. So that's the island that is my favorite. But each island has its own personality. The three ones outside of Oahu, I haven't spent too much time on Oahu, besides.
But you did go there recently, didn't you?
Yeah. We went there for a timeshare presentation. Yep. And Ko'olani, just outside of Honolulu, and that was great. Yeah, it was a Marriott presentation. And that's one thing, if you have the opportunity to do a timeshare presentation, that's one of my favorite hacks to do, because there's a lot of companies. We've done Westin a few times and Marriott a few times, where you get the mailer about, hey, you want to do a timeshare presentation, and I know it's not for everybody, and obviously you and your spouse and a partner will have to be rock solid on the no. But if you can do that for an hour and a half to 2 hours, it is well worth it, because you save about probably 50-60% off of the published rates that's staying at these top end resorts. And
so it's not totally free, but it's discounted.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. I mean, it's just like the Marriott we stayed, I think it was 5 nights, and we paid $1,000. But if we just were a regular Joe, it would have been probably $2,500 for 5 nights, like $500 a night. So and you get all the benefits, and just pools, and those places always have the best beaches. And like this Marriott, it had a man-made lagoon, and so they had so basically all the the rough waves of the Pacific Ocean were out in the distance, and then the lagoon was this calm, and it was just perfect sand and beach, and so it's well worth it for those 2 hours. And even though my wife, I have to drag her to go to these, she goes, no more. She loves it when she's there, and especially once we get through the presentation, she goes, oh, okay, it's worth it.
Is the presentation super high pressure?
It varies, and over the
I guess they're
years.
not going to hold a gun to your head and
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just got to say no, and come up. I mean, obviously they have an answer for everything, every scenario. Like for us, like the recent one, we said, hey, we don't have any money because we just spent it all on our beachfront condo. My wife had the pictures. Hey, look at these these views that we have, and so, but even then, they continue to put pressure, and well, we have a little mini offer that's really fairly cheap, and you can build up to it. And we said, no, we're just we're totally focused on building up this condo. It was a build, it was a a rebuild type of thing, and we had a fixer upper. So just as long as you're consistent, then and say no when you're both rock solid in that, you'll be fine. And it's never been like horrible. I mean, you hear horror stories, but I mean, but you will get the pressure from like different people. You got the main salesperson, then you got their manager, and then you
it's
got
like buying a car.
Yeah, exactly.
The manager.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then even the survey person, came in at the end, like the Marriott. That was kind of new for us. Was the survey? Well, we just want to give you a survey and how Bob and Trent treated you. Oh, by the way, they told me you're not interested, but hey, I can give you this offer that's maybe a third of the original price, and you can at least get your foot in the door. And we're like, no, thank you. But it hasn't been horrible. Again, they present it to where it looks really good. And for some people, and I know there's a lot of members that are doing it, and the timeshares, and my parents had one. But it's just, especially in this day of Airbnbs and all, I just like to have that flexibility to go exactly where I want to go. And so it's just not really the timeshare thing for us, but it's a great hack. If you can do it, I would recommend to do the hack, and at least do it once, see if you like it. If you totally hate it, then don't do it again. But we've done, think about 5 in Hawaii. We did 1 in Mexico, but like I said, they're pretty common in Hawaii.
And any quick tips for folks going to Hawaii for the first time, or things you wish people knew that you had known at the beginning? Or
I mean, the main thing is the, like, especially if you're staring or going to an Airbnb, is the food grocery prices, which is
not as expensive as Turks and Caicos, I can tell you.
Oh, is that okay? All right, I've never been there, so I guess I'll
if you want to feel like Hawaii's cheap, head on over to Turks and Caicos.
Really? Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, do the normal things, the Costco, and hopefully you have that and load up as much as you can. But just know going that the groceries it's gonna be sticker shock. I guess not if you come from Turks and Caicos, but just in normal, and just for us, it's part of the budget of the vacation. So just know that it's gonna be crazy. But one of the hacks that we do, and it doesn't save a lot of money, but it's a little bit, is stuff that you can put into your suitcase. Like for me, I love popcorn, so I'll put microwave popcorn. I'll put like I had like 8 or 9, 10 bags in there. I love my muffins in the morning, English muffins. So I put a couple of those in my suitcase, and especially Southwest, right? You can have 2 free bags, so that's nice. So yeah, if there's food that you can bring that's easily portable in a suitcase, then that I would recommend to do that. Especially again if you're staying in Airbnb and not a hotel. And that's one thing I'd recommend, is do the Airbnb, VRBO, whatever the case may be. Unless you're just really need that resort type of feel, which it is nice. Again, that's where the timeshare hack comes into place. That's what we do. We only stay at a resort if we do a timeshare hack. Otherwise, we do the Airbnb, and you just save money on cooking your own food. And again, we do middle of the ground. We'll go out, go to a beachfront restaurant, but we also like to do our breakfast and lunches in the condo, or bring it down to the beach.
Yeah, that's what we generally try to do as well. Eat our own lunch and splurge for dinner.
Yeah, and a recommendation, and just a plug, and I don't know if you've had these books, but these the Big Island Revealed. So I love this guy's Andrew Doughty, I think I say his name, but I love his writing style, and he's real honest. And he's got a book like this for each of the islands, and he's real honest. If a restaurant is not good, he'll say it, and so I just appreciate it. And that was that was really helpful when we first started to go to Hawaii, because we had no clue. I had no clue which islands are which or which one's Honolulu on. And so those books were really helpful. And another cool thing, they create their own, detailed maps. And so they're not just the standard maps that you get. So it's really helpful, especially when you kind of get in some remote areas. And those books are real helpful.
All right, awesome. So let's conclude with, where are you headed next?
Next is, so we're taking a break in the summer. We just did 2 Hawaii trips. We had a delayed timeshare presentation that was supposed to happen a year ago, but had delayed. We took that in January, and we just got back from the Big Island just about a month ago. So we're taking a break for a little while, but the next one's going to be a Caribbean cruise in the Eastern Caribbean. So it's a big extended family. It's like in-laws and then in-laws of in-laws, and there's going to be about I think 16 different people, 14 maybe 15 people. But we're going out of Miami, going to St. Martin and St. Thomas, and then we're going to the Royal Caribbean's their private island. So it's a seven night cruise. So we're doing that in October. So that'll be the next vacay. So in the meantime, we'll be spending a lot of time at our condo down in Mexico.
Yeah, and another perk of your flexibility is you can travel at different times of year than the busy summer where all people with kids out of school are traveling. So you can skip that busyness and go at times where there's less people traveling. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's another flexibility of just not having retiring early or semi-retiring early. Is you can do on the shoulder seasons or even off seasons. So we're excited to do that. Like we plan to go to Europe in the wintertime, which I know is not ideal, but it's just maybe spend a Christmas or something in Italy. So a country that I think you're quite fond of.
Yes, I do love it.
Yes, Miss soon
to go there next month. Yay!
Yeah, that's right. Miss soon to be bilingual, right? In Italian.
Well, I'm trying.
Well, you're a lot further than me, that's for sure.
And Chris has just got dual citizenship, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So I am a dual citizen of Italy. A couple of years ago, I got it. My cousin is the one that alerted me that we could tie back to my great grandfather, who came over in 1900 from Italy and settled in Colorado as a farmer, but he never naturalized as a U.S. citizen. So how the rules are set that as long as we can prove. And there's a lot of hoops, typical government and citizenship, a lot of hoops, and spend a lot of money to get it done. But yeah, we decided to do it. So which affords us, if we want, we could buy property in Italy, and then obviously it helps us move around in the EU a lot easier and stay longer. So those are the benefits. And but yeah, just kind of embarrassing that I don't really speak too much Italian. So I need to
maybe someday.
I know.
Buy that Italian property.
Yep, that's on my goal to do that, because that'd be pretty embarrassing. I got dual citizenship, but I can't speak a lick of it. So, excited for that.
All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story and your tips with us today. I hope that inspires many of our listeners about what's possible for them and how you can keep traveling all along the way and beyond. So thanks for joining us, Chris, and everyone, have a great rest of your week.